Why is muscle considered the organ of longevity? For a long time, the largest organ in the body was considered the alimentary system, which is the skin. But it is the muscular system, which is interconnected through fascia from external to internal. So the muscle has a mitochondria, the energy factory of every muscle. And that is every muscle in every organ. And every organ needs to have a system of energy, and the system of energy that is most prevalent is obviously the glucose system, oxidative phosphorylation, and it's processing glucose through the use of oxygen. So basically, the more muscle you have, the higher your BMR is, the more calories you're going to need, the more glucose you're going to get rid of. Basically, this is one of the reasons why more muscle is better, plus the fact that muscle is to some degree regulatory in the production of certain neurotransmitters, directly responsible for the production of myokines, which are basically endocrine hormones. So you have exocrine, paracrine and endocrine. And this endocrine hormone, one of these such is the BDNF, which is the brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is something that people think are produced elsewhere in your body or even in your brain. And this is something that's coming from the muscles. So the more healthy muscle you have, the more glucose you can dispose of, and the more hormones that you're going to produce for life and for health. And also you're going to have a better regulatory system with the production and transport certain neurotransmitters. So without this muscular system as it is, if it's weakened and it's lost, then metabolically you're going to suffer. You're going to suffer bad, which is going to be lack of energy, brain fog and other things. And there's a direct correlation between the strength of certain muscles like forearm muscles and hanging strength, hanging grip strength, how long a person can hang. There's a direct correlation between that and how long you will live. And it really comes down to forearm. And I think when you break that down logically, it's because it's the most used muscle and it's the last muscle to deteriorate. So when muscle strength in the forearm, the grip strength goes, that's it. The clock's really ticking as to how long you're going to be around, because everybody's grip strength lasts until very late in life. How does your DNA reveal the type of training that your body actually prefers? It looks at how quick you can metabolize lactate, so how quick and how efficient your lactate clearance pathways are, and then whether genetically you work better, you can break down quicker fats for energy than you can carbohydrates or sugars for energy, and how efficient your startup system is, your ATP system. And all this is determined by your DNA. So that's one thing. And then also the clearance systems that you have. So like some people, you've been out with that one person and they only weigh about 9 stone wet through, but yet they can drink about 12 pints and not get drunk. The body is, their DNA is very capable of being able to methylate and process that amount of alcohol very quickly, and yours may not. So this is something else that DNA determines. A lot of things, how well your body processes and removes toxins, poisons, also certain pathways for reducing inflammation and repairing DNA. So some people's genetics are fantastic at repairing DNA, whereas some people's genetics aren't as good for repairing the DNA, which means they may age a little quicker, but they're very good at keeping the cells healthy because they trigger a process called apoptosis, which is automated cell detonation, which means that any cell that could become cancerous because it may turn from oxidative phosphorylation over to fermentation and go rogue is destroyed. It's obliterated. So there is this is the same gene pathway, but there's two sides to it, and the one will repair the DNA and the other one will just get rid of the cells. So you really need both sides of this working really to stay younger for longer and healthier, but you can still, you could age quicker, look older, right, but still be ultra healthy. There's lots of different factors involved in this, and it tells a fantastic story. It's absolutely amazing. And when you start to read the story of your own genetics, it really is phenomenal, and you can see where you've come from and why you are what you are and how unique you actually are, because it has your individual unique blueprint to it. And it says there is no way that this happened by evolution. This has been directed. It's mind-blowing when you look at it, that there are absolutely billions of computations involved in this, billions upon billions, and that's like to the power of about 100. It is absolutely phenomenal, the number of different DNA combinations that can come from just one source, and you look at that and you just think, no way did we evolve, no way. The question, why do two people following the same diet and the same training get completely different results? And the answer is simple. If I say different DNA, it doesn't really give you an answer, but the point is different fibre typing. So one person has more type 2 fibres in particular muscles, so they have more fast twitch strength fibres, and the other one has more type 1, but type 2 fibres can develop a type 1 capability. If you look at, say, the gene ACTN3, and a person has more of that, then they are more likely to be stronger and developing strength a lot quicker. But conversely, they could have genes that drive sarcopenia, so they may have an ability to be stronger, but not necessarily build more muscle, or be stronger and build more muscle, genetically determined or predetermined, but yet have the ability to lose that muscle rather quickly through sarcopenia. Some that favour strength, some that favour force of contraction, which is a different part of strength, but nevertheless strength. Some that favour more endurance, the ability to continue. So we have genetically, fibre typing is one thing, energy systems is another, and your ability for lactate clearance. Some people do a set and in 30 seconds they're ready for another set. Some people can go through like a hurricane and be really consistently strong throughout, whereas others may need a lot more time. So that's down to lactate clearance pathways and the type of fuel your muscles are going to prefer, and your ability to use that fuel through the oxygen that is made available, or how long your muscles can contract for without oxygen. These are all different pathways, and they're determined by different genes. And also inflammatory reduction genes, which genes are going to remove that inflammation that's caused by the training, and how quick you're going to recover. This is a massive story, and I have seen it and I have experienced it real for myself. I've trained alongside of somebody else, and I've got good genetics, but I've trained alongside of somebody else who had like amazing genetics for growing size, and having done the same diet with the same training, they outgrew me. But the same could be said for myself with somebody else who doesn't have the genetic ability. So it's all down to genetics. When you're in the gym and somebody is really making some exceptionally good gains, and then somebody says, yeah, that's all because they're on the juice. You can get two people using the same cycle, eating the same calories, doing the same training, and genetically one is predetermined to be a mass monster while the other isn't. I'm not saying they both can't stand on the platform, they can, but one will be a heavyweight and the other one will be a middleweight. Why do I think people believe that longevity is about supplements and workouts? Because the internet is telling you that. One size fits all. Doesn't in this. Is that longevity is all about supplements and training. So if you take the right supplements and do the right training, then you're going to increase your longevity and you're going to live a lot longer. To some degree that's correct, but to a greater degree it's incorrect. Because if you do the wrong type of training, you're the wrong body type, the wrong fibre type, you don't have great lactate clearance, you may have the capacity to build great strength, you may have a few other great genetic predispositions, but the point about it, there isn't such thing as a one size fits all. So today you're told There's a lot of great supplements about today. Fantastic. There's never been a time like this for having really good supplements. The market's exploded in about 18 months. So it's really good. And with the biohacking becoming a really great thing, people are beginning to understand. But there's a lot of myths out there, and there's a lot of people taking things to extremes. And there is no one size fits all in as far as supplements go. Certain supplements do very little for me, but are amazing for others, because others suffer with their methylation and the methylation pathways, whereas I don't. So the point is that it's great for one person, but it isn't great for another. And some people perform a lot better, let's say, with L-citrulline than they do with L-arginine. But they're both nitric oxide boosters, but there is a difference between them. You can't have one universal supplement. You can't have one particular way of training, because training it's very subjective. You can say, go in the gym and train and you will build muscle. That is true. And then you can also start to reverse that, so that your training that was very good for you is now beginning to subdue you because it's causing too much systematic stress. And you're burning out your magnesium at a phenomenal rate. So your body is highly magnesium deficient. And there might be a massive D3 and vitamin E deficiency with that as well. For anybody who's been chemically enhanced, prolactin levels could be phenomenally high, and you may need to reduce them. And by the way, if this is you, get in touch, because I have a protocol for that. So most of the time, these things can be dealt with, but you have to look at the individual. Now, blood tests are great. Blood tests tells you what's happening now, but the DNA testing tells you what's going to be happening from now for the rest of your life. So if you want to know now, get a blood screen, get an independent panel. Don't go to your doctor, because your doctor will give you the panel within certain parameters. Your testosterone's okay. It's one marker within okay. But you might have been a natural high testosterone person for most of your life, and now, but your prolactin might be really high. Now, the NHS aren't going to tell you that. Your doctor may not tell you that. You may need an independent screen to find out these things. So it isn't a one size fits all. The blood testing is great and it is needed, but the DNA testing gives you information. It gives you your story. You'll take it only once in your life, and then it'll give it your story. And if you get your full DNA test delivered in a composite version, which is not the 1,000-page version, it's the dynamic, straight to the point version. What I do as well as that is I give the clients a guided individual blueprint. So it's everything, and here's the do's and here's the don'ts, and it's guided and it's graphically pictorial as well. So I give that to my clients also, so they don't have to read anything and try and understand it. It's there if you want to. The conclusion's there, but also there's a blueprint guided version which is direct. You could read it if you were 12 and understand it very easily. How can DNA testing and coaching bring the simplicity back into the equation, where DNA testing seems to be quite an overwhelming factor to understanding itself? Right. When you have the testing done, if you have the coaching with it, the coaching brings about the implementation. So it keeps you accountable, first and foremost. So the things that are written down for you are explained to you in bite-sized chunks. And then you have X amount of weeks. So this works at a month at a time. So say you want 3 months for the implementation of this. So you would start by looking at what you need to do for your diet and start to address that by the weeks. 1 month can put all that in place. And then you're measuring performance outcome from that. So if you train and you work out, you're looking at that and you're changing your training. That's another month, right? And then the supplementation and the lifestyle swaps and changes within that as well. So you might be looking at removing certain things from your household cleaning system, your laundry detergents and other things like that, because your DNA says that you're highly reactive to these and you need to have them removed. It does work like this, because even if you're not aware of it now, there is so many environmental factors, and there's intrinsic and extrinsic environmental factors. So there's when you're out there from the air that you breathe. So some people work as mechanics in testing stations and they're breathing in. And even though cars run clean today, so they're breathing in a lot of that, and they really need to be away from that, or they need to use a 2-stage filter mask, because these things, their DNA is highly reactive to that. So some people's DNA is very reactive to certain substances where others aren't, like the blue light. So some people's DNA can react alarmingly to the LED, to the blue light, to non-ionizing radiation like the Wi-Fi. I know people who sit near Wi-Fi and they get extremely ill within about an hour. They feel nauseous and they feel really ill, really bad. Most people don't know the damage that Wi-Fi or sitting close to Wi-Fi. Now, that's the facts about things. Your DNA determines the outcome of your longevity if you listen to it. Grissom said the evidence can't lie, and he was speaking about the DNA. And the DNA tells a story, and it's your story. And it's how unique you are as an individual. And if you listen to it and you do what it's telling you, then you can be around a long time. And it's not just being around here. Who wants to live 100 years in poor health? It's being around in good health to enjoy your life. Do what you really enjoy the most. Spend time with family and live your life to the full. If you like what you've heard and you want to learn more, there's a link in the description below to book a call. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next video on the Really Honest channel.